Hi guys, okay, it's me and Bear, and we're back again with another one of our old skills talks. We've done a little bit more research and wanted to share, and the last video was received so well. And many of you asked for us to point out books and things to go into your library and etc. So Bear's got a nice big list. So we're going to get to Bear in a minute. So we're going to do my one book right quick. I brought one gun to the thing and he brought a howitzer. So
several.
What I recommend for bushcraft, woodscraft, for putting in a library is skills books and books that give you a good knowledge or give you something that gives you a good working knowledge. Whenever you read this, as a wise man once said, the road to wisdom begins with the statement, "I do not know." But often it's because I don't know what to ask. You know, I'm interested in this topic, but I don't have a clue of what to ask about or what to go. Well, that's where this book, to me, is a great asset. Because what it does is it's a compilation, I believe, of many early books made into one big tome. And by this, they are just oodles and noodles of topics. Everything from navigation, how to use the stars, water purification, snake bite, animal plantings, how to set traps, how to read weather, how to, it just goes on and on and on. If you read this, you will have a working knowledge to know where to go from there. See, it's one of them things of, if you read this and you understand this book, and the topics of it, it will show you the topics that you want to pursue more because you've got an interest. You may not know that even existed until you read it in here. These books were invaluable to me whenever I was starting out because it gave me a path to follow. You know, I want to learn about, let's say, navigation. I started out with a Boy Scout manual. That taught me enough and showed me my limitations to the point that I then went to the U.S. Army manual on navigation. That led me into high school ROTC, learning how to navigate by military type setting. And that led me to go later on to hiking and backpacking books that talked about navigation. So that was how as you see, it was a step for me. Now the book that I'm talking about is called, and I'll give you up close in just a second, it's called Camping and Wilderness Survival by Paul Tawrell, Tawrell, and I know somebody's going to ask. So the ISBN number is, if you're ready to write this down, 10, then there's a dash, 0-9740820-2-3. Also ISBN number 13-978-0-9740-820-2-8. So you can look it up in the Library of Congress, or you can just look it up by the name on Amazon. Let me get you up close so you can see it. Okay, there's the name, Paul Tawrell. And I hope you can see right there's the ISBN numbers. Okay? It is just a book that is topics on everything. Rope work. How to make rope from natural materials. Star navigation. How to use binoculars. How to use radio signals. Aircraft signaling. All kind of Morse code and stuff signaling. How to use different compasses for navigation. How to cut trees, fell logs, etc. Danger in the tropics. I mean, it's just a little of everything. How to cook, how to build a snow cave, how to use caves. You know, different ways to build stoves and things like that. It's a good working knowledge book. So that's my little add-on to this. With one of these books, you have, it's kind of like the old time that we grew up with, encyclopedia. I can read on a topic and will at least have a good working knowledge from reading that 2 pages, half page or whatever, to show me which way to go, to make me at least educated enough to know what to ask for and where I should go from here. That's what makes it invaluable to me. Okay, now, what you got?
Last time we spoke, we talked about a whole lot of stuff. We talked about gardening and canning and all kinds of other things. But I did some research, and instead of the county agent, it was the county extension office that I was referring to. And of course, here in the state of Alabama, the majority of that is done through Auburn University. The
Hoorah.
War Eagle.
War Eagle, baby.
Now, not to be too centered, Alabama A&M, Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical, is also affiliated with the Alabama Extension Service. The University of Georgia has a valuable research library. So does the University of Kentucky. Most of your historically agricultural schools will. But the website for the Alabama Cooperative Extension Service is www.aces.edu. And you can go on there and you can look up, you can walk through their library. They don't do the pamphlets anymore, okay? But you can go through their library and you can print off anything you want. If you don't have access to a computer or a printer, then you can contact your local office and they will print it out for you at no charge. While I was doing my research, for those of you who live in southeastern Alabama, there is a canning workshop coming up in Troy, Alabama on May the 20th at 10 o'clock in the morning. There's also, on May the 19th, the day before, a pond management class in Andalusia, Alabama, at the Covington County Extension Office. And you can go on the website and you can find those places. You can look at those places if you want to attend the class. They don't turn anybody away. So if you want to drive however far you want to drive, they'll let you come. That's the way they're wired.
Now, what you're talking about there in pond management, for more of our urban friends, many of the people down here, especially in the older South, you had a small group of pigs, you had a small group of chickens, you had 2 or 3 cows, maybe 2 or 3 goats, and a lot of times these farm communities would have a small pond of about a football field in size, something like that, and it was for fish, and it was also for watering livestock. And so pond management taught you how to keep a growing population of fish in your pond, how to put cover in there, fertilizing, etc., to make the pond as productive as possible, to use it as a food source as well as just a thing to water your livestock and stuff like that. A lot of people don't realize that one of the reasons you go see the old Norman Rockwell idea of what a farm was back at the turn of the century, it was completely geared up to multiple kinds of food production.
Yes.
You were growing produce of, peas, butter beans, corn, etc. You had your meat, which was all kinds of wildlife plus domestic animals, and fish was a big part of that. I ate a lot of catfish coming up.
Oh, yeah.
More people had catfish ponds than Bremen bass ponds.
And so we would combine them. On our farm, we had a pond that's about an acre. As a matter of fact, we're about 200 yards from that pond right now. And we had catfish, bass, and brim in it. It's in my brother's front yard now, and he's only got bass and brim, I believe. But oh yeah, we would go out, we would fish all Saturday afternoon, and then our family, our extended family, would get together and have a fish fry on Saturday night.
It was free food. It was a way to keep it rotating. And most of the farms, like what I'm looking at now, this is on the old farmstead. There's a big fig tree over here. People planted fig trees, peach trees, plum trees, apple trees.
There's blueberry bushes right around the corner.
Yeah, blueberry bushes, and everybody had these things so that they provided not only a fresh fruit, but you then make jellies and things like that. You think about the idea of survival, of going to these poor people living out on these farms, living off grid, so to speak. I'm here to tell you, it was good eating. They did not can something that didn't taste good. They did not waste their time making peach preserves or whatever if they didn't know what they were doing. These recipes were handed down, mother to daughter or granddaughter, and if you just couldn't seem to make it worth a flip, usually the ladies in the church would share recipes with you.
Right.
And everybody learned to cook, and there was a reason. I mean, we talked about we was poor, but we had plenty to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what has happened in our society today is we have become dependent on other places to provide our needs. And it has advantages. It also has a lot of disadvantages. And we addressed that in the last video. We are staring at a shortage. Okay. Just call it like it is. Don't gloss it. Don't candy coat it. If you will walk into your average grocery store, probably a third of the shelves are slack, if not empty. When we were growing up, that would not have happened.
Never.
Because we were reliant upon ourselves. I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not casting blame. I'm just saying that the shift has changed and we are paying the price now.
Most of your little local grocery stores in our small community, they're struggling right now. But at the same time, back in our day, they bought local produce.
Yes. Yes.
So it was the local farmers were bringing the peas, corn, butter beans, watermelons, meat a lot of times would be brought in. And that's gone. Now it's all nationalized. And so you don't have a local butcher. You don't have a local place.
They are hard to find.
Hard to find.
Hard to find.
And trying to find these places where you can locally procure, like we talked in the last video about going in halves on a hog or halves on a cow or something like that, to at a really good price stock up the freezer. That's getting harder and harder to do, especially because people just don't have it anymore. Everything's been nationalized. And when you ask, well, where do I go to get blueberries? I don't know where I go get actual blueberries here locally. I know where I can get them in a store. But I don't know anybody, right now on any of my family farms that grows blueberry bushes. So if I was hunting blueberries, I had no choice but to go to the can,
I do have a source for things like that, but I don't have it with me. That's my mistake. I apologize to everybody in advance. But I get a card every 3 months or so from a wholesale distributor who sells peaches and blueberries and strawberries and raspberries and peas and beans and corn and potatoes in bags. And Blackie was talking about that in the last video, how you can buy you a big bag of stuff and can it.
Bulk it, yeah.
Buy it in bulk and then break it up into smaller pieces and can it, which is how I got started. I ordered it from this company, and like I said, I will get him the information, and he can pass it on later.
Or we'll do another video talking about it.
In the last video, people were asking about the books that I had, and I wanted to go into a little more detail with them. Might as well start here at the top. This is Peterson's guide to medicinal plants, wild plants. It is,
Amazon, bookstores, these are currently available.
yes. I picked this one up at not Books A Million, but
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble in Dothan. Walked in, it was on the shelf. And it just begged me to take it home with it. So I obliged. But this is an invaluable resource. Peterson, Roger Torrey Peterson was a noted biologist and botanist when we were kids. And this is his family and his friends carrying on his tradition. They make them for wildlife, they make them for birds, reptiles, plants. This is medicinal herbs. This is edible herbs, edible plants. And it is hundreds and hundreds of pages of information.
And again, this is one of those books that is a great pointer book.
Yes.
Because from this, I find out that this plant that grows in my yard is edible, okay? Once I have that knowledge, then I can go onto the internet and look up how to cook it, how to preserve it, how to do stuff. This is not the end-all, be-all, one book and you're done. But let's say I want to learn dandelion. That book is going to tell me exactly what to look for, how I can absolutely positively identify it. And then once I know how to say, okay, that's a dandelion, I can pick it up right there. I know what I'm looking at. Then I now can go on to the various internet channels and say, can I make tea out of it? Can I can it? Can I eat it raw? Do I have to cook it? Can I make a coffee substitute? Can I whatever? That opens up a whole new area for me to learn.
Here's the cool thing about the updated Peterson's Guide. They have symbols here along the edge of the page. It is an edible. You can make a soup out of it. You can make a tea out of it. You can cook it in other things. You make a salad out of it. But there's an entire paragraph here with uses for the common dandelion. And following up with what he was saying about this camping and survival book, these Peterson guides, we have a lot of hurricanes down here. I mean, some of the major things that we have had in this area was, as we mentioned in the last video, Hurricane Eloise, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Camille. Camille hit Gulfport, Mississippi in 1968. And my uncle, my mother's oldest brother, lived in Gulfport at the time, and he talked about seeing ocean-going freighters picked up out of the water and flying over the trees in his yard to be dropped, several miles inland. And it just completely devastated Gulfport. Believe it or not, there are still scars from Camille. Also, 3 years ago, Hurricane Michael.
Yeah.
We had Hurricane Opal come through here. Those of you who are familiar with Panama City Beach, the geographic center of the eye of Hurricane Opal came over the Sugar Sands Motel on Front Beach Road. Okay? That's how close to us it was. From right here where we're sitting to the Sugar Sands is 99 miles.
And we were getting Cat 3 winds and storm here off of that Cat 5 100 miles away.
Yes. And as it came, so did the wind. But also with Michael, here's the thing about it. When Michael was about 25 miles off of shore and a day out, he was a Category 1.
And went from 1 to 5 in less than 24 hours.
In the space of 24 hours, 18 hours, he caught an attitude and went from a 1 to a 5. They don't get any stronger than a 5. For years, even today, you can go out just east of us, over in the area just east of Dothan, which is about 60 miles from here, east of us. it looked like the finger of God had come down and just scratched the surface of the planet.
All the trees are leaning at an angle like that.
If they're not
Instead
on
of
the
this, they're
ground.
like that.
Yeah.
And that's fully 120 miles inland, and all the trees were leaning from the wind.
They estimate that there was 1.5 million or 2 million acres of pine trees destroyed. And when a hurricane hits them, they're doing this, and they weave together like a thatch. And you can't go get them.
You can't harvest them
You
because
can't
you can't
harvest
cut them. They all fall. You can't cut it and fall it.
Now, we're not the harbingers of doom. We're going to try to talk you out of it, because I don't know if he's thought about it, but this is May the 6th, May the 7th, okay? This is May the 7th. June the 1st starts hurricane
Season.
and it goes through November 1st.
Yeah. And that's just it. A tornado is very devastating, but it's local. I mean, even a huge tornado is a mile wide. Most of them are just a few yards wide. So if your home gets hit by a tornado, chances are your neighbors on either side down the road are going to be coming to your aid. You're going to get help fairly quickly. A hurricane can be 1,000 miles across down here, and it devastates a region where there is no power, there is no help coming for 2 to 3 days or a week. You know, like he talked about during Eloise, they didn't get power for how long?
14 days.
We didn't get it for a week, and we were in downtown in a town. We didn't get it for a week. All the power lines were gone, and they had to come in and just run new power lines.
The cloud shield for Katrina. Katrina went ashore at New Orleans, as we all know. The cloud shield reached over as far as Gainesville and Tallahassee.
Which was over us.
Get you a map, and we are almost in the center line. We almost divide this between Gainesville and New Orleans. And we were covered up.
We had Cat 1, Cat 2
Yeah.
when it was coming ashore, and then when it went on inland, we got to Cat 3 for a couple hours there.
Hurricane Andrew covered the entire Gulf of Mexico. There was not a part of the Gulf of Mexico that was not covered by the cloud shield. So we're talking about a massive system. And you know, those systems that you get up north, those blizzards and where they dump 18, 20 inches of snow, they are just as bad. They are landlocked hurricanes. Mm-hmm. They just drop snow, tons and tons of snow instead of tons and tons of warm water.
And with all of these natural disasters, it comes back to we're used to living in a world where we've got power, we've got a microwave oven, we got etc. But it's so easy for that to go, and it's off. Mm-hmm. Now, it may come back, but if the only food you've got in the house is in the refrigerator,
yeah.
You don't have canned food, and you don't have some other stockpile like we talk about canning, you know.
What I was telling about the story about Eloise, there were 2 or 3 generators in our neighborhood, and everybody swapped it out. It takes about 4 hours to chill down the refrigerator and the freezer. Mm-hmm. And then you unplug it and you move it to the next house, and then they run it for 4 hours and bring their stuff back up where it needs to be, and then it goes to the next house. That's what we're talking about. But to continue with my books, the books that I had last week, or during the last video, another one was Durable Trades. This is a collection of bomb-proof jobs.
Okay, hold on 1 second. This is Durable Trades by Rory, R-O-R-Y, Groves, G-R-O-V-E-S. Forward by Alan C. Carlson, family-centered economies that have stood the test of time. So if you're looking for that book, that's how the title should be. Go ahead.
Just looking in here, you know, whatever you're doing, keep going. Do you. But there are things in here like Gardener. woodworker, carpenter, painter, cook, that you can do in a more urban environment. School teacher, that's a durable trade. Baker, baking is a durable trade. But I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Leather worker, roofer. That's always a very popular guy after a storm.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing about it is you, of course, are going to want to find a more profitable way to earn a living, of course. But what this is showing you is these trades don't go out. There's always going to be a need for a baker. There's always going to need for a roofer. Learn that skill so that if suddenly your job completely disappears, whether you intended it to or not, the company you work for suddenly goes, and there just ain't no jobs here. You know, these type jobs are always going to be hiring. Having that skill set guarantees you can go at least somewhere and get a job to get you started to get a real job. See?
Or if you are, excuse me, or if you are in a situation where you've had a storm come blow through and you can't work on your computer, but you can go out and you can trade carpentry work for something that this person has got that you need.
The barter system.
Yes, you can barter it. If you want to generate a little extra income on the sides, one of the things in the book is logging. Mm. You can make an absolute fortune without gouging by just cleaning up trees that have fallen, that have been broken off by storms.
I have a friend of mine that he does nuisance trapping.
Yes.
He just goes and puts up, he goes into these nice housing areas. I don't mean no slums, guys. I'm talking about the nice places. He knocks on the door. He's very professional. He gives them his business card. He says, if you have a problem with coons, have a problem with possums, whatever, contact me. I'll come get them. And he does it as a trapper. Mm-hmm. But because of that, he not only gets paid, he said he got paid $200 to get this coon out of a lady's attic. Then he turns around and he gets to dispatch the coon. He can eat the coon and he can sell the hide of the coon.
What did Dan say a coon hide was going for last time?
$25 or $30-something a piece. I will tell you now that Dan's gone, I can share this. He said the most profitable animal to trap in the southeast is a skunk. It's not for the hide, it's for the scent gland, the spray. Because the propane industry will pay $125 an ounce for that stuff. $125 an ounce. He said I would find a skunk dead on the side of the road that hadn't sprayed, he got run over by the head or whatever, and he would take a hypodermic needle, nowhere to inject, suck out that gland, put it up in sealed bottles, and sell it to the propane companies for $125 an ounce. That's not cheap.
I'm in the wrong profession.
You're in the wrong profession. You get 10 skunks, over $1,000. You know.
The final book that I had in the last video is by a gentleman named Sloane. It's called Sketches of America Past, and it is probably my favorite book that I own next to my Bible. It tells you all kinds of information about old tools and how they would work. This is a drill press, a beam press, which has a hand drill with a weight on the end of a long pole, and you just weight the pole and start turning the hand drill, and it drills wood. No power needed, no electricity needed. Mm-hmm. Axes. These are tools, it's called tools with legs. There are shaving horses. There are saw filing horses. Bet you didn't know there was such a thing. Apple quartering horses. Chair vices for making brooms. Mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff. But he was an artist. Sloane was an artist in New England. back in the early 20th century. And he loved to go around and go through antique shops and just roam the countryside. And he would come up on these abandoned homesteads, find their tools, and then use them, figure out how to use them and collect them. And a magnificent book if you can find it. I bought this one when I was a student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, probably 38 years ago, 36 years ago. If you can find it, get it.
A good source is go to your public library.
Yes, it is.
Now, everybody's familiar with the Foxfire books, and those were good pointer books. You know, they showed different skills and things that were available. And, of course, everybody's aware today of the Amish. And the Amish use old 1800s and before skills and tools. I mentioned the Lehman Catalog, which that's Leman. Just look it up like that on the internet, Lehman Catalog. And they cater to the Amish. And so it's all the cast iron, it's all the tinware, it's all the oil lamps and all this technology, as well as things like water pumps and things that are gravity feed. There's no electricity in any of this stuff. And so that's when you're trying to set up a homestead that's completely off grid. There is still, you're at a lucky point right now, because there are still people like me and Bear that possess these old knowledges and are willing to share it with people like you. There are still manufacturers that are manufacturing a lot of this old stuff, and you can still get it, and you can even find video tutorials and stuff like that to learn from these experts how to do that. So the off-grid bunch has really been the modern Foxfire of going more in depth, where before you only got like a half a chapter on how to can. Now you can go online and learn step by step everything you need to know about canning. Everybody should know how to grow something. Everybody should have some sort of marketable skill other than the thing they do for a living. Okay? Something that I can do, carpentry, blacksmithing, whatever. I'm quite often asked, you know, for a world go to hell, what would be one skill I would recommend beyond bushcraft for a barter skill? And I say, learn how to turn PVC pipe into a bow. It's simple, it's easy to do. There's a very good site on YouTube called Backyard Bower, as in bow and arrow, bower. And it was a gentleman out of Hawaii, and he showed you how to take PVC pipe and with a stove, a PVC pipe, and an oven mitt, how to in about 20 minutes make a bow. Well, that's when the world goes that way, that they keep saying, well, there's going to be a lot of buildings with PVC pipe in them, you know. And so you've got something now you can trade. You can make bows, and there's a lot of people that do archery for hunting, but they don't know how to build a bow.
Right.
You know, it's one of them skills that, and I don't want to be down on a lot of the stuff, but a lot of times they don't look in depth. And I had a gentleman one time, he was telling me all this stuff that he had stockpiled up of food, ammunition, everything else. Man, he had, I went, yeah, but how much gasoline did he put up? He didn't. Well, how you going to transport it? Because you ain't toting it. You don't own any horses. You ain't got no wagons. And if you have to move, you can't move it.
Right.
It'd take you 6 months to clean out just your barn, hauling it by hand 20 miles to wherever. Where's your fuel? Fuel's going to disappear quickly. We're seeing that right now, where price of fuel's going through the roof.
Yeah, I filled up my pickup truck. Well, I didn't fill it up. I can't afford to fill it up, but gas is $4 a gallon here. I feel sorry for you guys in metropolitan areas.
No.
It's off the chart. I'm sure your fuel is off the chart. If mine's at $4, I cringe to think where yours is at.
Yeah, $6 or $8 in California.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, how would you move if you had to?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where all of that price has got to trickle down into the cost of food. We're seeing the cost of food go through the roof. The cost of diesel is higher than anything else. Well, tractors run off of diesel.
A lot of them do.
Farmers run off of diesel. So does most of the farm equipment. All the truckers coming to you are on diesel. As that goes up, the price of food goes up.
Right.
And when we were kids and our parents talked about rationing during World War II, where you weren't allowed to have meat on, what was it, Tuesday, meatless Tuesday.
Meatless Tuesday, I think.
No meat. You couldn't buy meat for Tuesday. You couldn't get but like so many bars of soap per month. And, you know, and we think, oh, that'll never happen. We're seeing it again.
How many of you remember 4 or 5 years, no, it hasn't been that long, about 3 years ago, when there was a toilet paper shortage?
Toilet paper, Twinkies.
Yeah,
You know.
you couldn't find them. There were people who literally were fighting each other almost to death over a cotton pick and roll of toilet paper.
That makes no sense to us.
Don't you think it won't happen again?
Whenever it gets down to where there's not that much food and you're having to stand in line and fight for something, yeah.
He was laughing at me a minute ago about my books, plural. Well,
Second stack.
here's the other stack. These are not in any necessarily of any order of importance, but this is some of my collection.
All right, hold on a second. Let me check that battery. Make sure we ain't running out of battery time. Nope, it's showing green. We're good. Go ahead. I thought I saw it go blip, blip. You go ahead, but I was looking at that upper right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And something went blip, blip, and sometimes when the battery's getting low, it'll start going blip, blip. And so before that thing just cuts off. All right, continue. Go.
A very good source. This is A Guide to Happy Family Gardening by Tamari Spires. Well, I got this at a library sale up in Eufaula, Alabama at the Carnegie Library. If your library, libraries cull books every year. Talk to your local library, find out when they're going to have a library sale, and go look.
Because a lot of times they're selling them by pennies on the pound. They're selling them by the pound instead of by the book.
When they bought this book, it was $9. When I bought it, it was 50 cents. Okay? And it's got all kinds of gardening ideas, and it's child friendly. So you can involve the little ones. That's the good thing about this one, is it's child friendly. How many of you have had those annoying commercials pop up with books like this? On a whim, I bought this book. I'm not knocking this book. There's some valuable nuggets in this book, but then there's some things that are not so much. If you want to invest in it, I encourage you to invest in it. If you don't, no big deal. But it tells you things. Let me go to the chamber
Content.
table of contents. Thank you. It's got a list of recipes from the 18th century. It's got a list of survival foods from the war between the states. How to build a self-feeding fire quickly. Making candles. Glue out of pine rosin. That's actually not as hard as it sounds. Preserving water. Long-term water storage. Recipes for cattails. Cattail biscuits, pancakes, casserole. How to build a smokehouse. There are valuable nuggets in here. A lot of it, you know, as your knowledge base builds, you'll be able to weed out the useful stuff from the not as useful stuff.
And also, remembering this, and we're talking about, you get a book like this. Let's say that book I pointed out at the beginning, you get it and it sends you in a direction and you end up with this book type deal, which is the Lost Wayz book, okay? And you find that out of that entire book, you only have 3 things that are valuable to you, okay? That does 2 things for you. One, you did learn something. You take the information on there and you Xerox out of it. You go make copies of it and get you a 3-ring binder with page protectors, and you label it and you put it in it. You're building your own library. And then that book becomes barter material for you to trade to somebody else for maybe another book or some other resource. So you're not completely out of your money if you get a book and it's like, no, this just isn't what I want to do. Somebody else, that's the perfect book for them. So that's one of the advantages to having books or copies of books. Now, like I just said, you're going to build your own library, and that's what me and Bear did, you know, over the years.
That's a good point.
Is create your own library.
Over the years, okay? We didn't do this between last week and this week.
Yeah.
This book here on the bottom, I bought, in 1988. Do the math. That's a minute ago.
And the advantage to a book is it doesn't require electricity. You can read it by candlelight.
Yep.
So if I read that entire Tarwell book when I first got it. I think I've read that book 3 times. There's so much information in that book that I can refer back to. I consider it a beginning book. I consider it a directions book. My knowledge is greater in most of the topics, but that's from my experience, right? But let's say that Bear is just getting started. That's a book I can loan him as a teaching aid, because you're also not just doing yourself, you're trying to teach your kids, your family, your community, your church, or whatever. And so having these resources, like something that I can barter off, is a great thing to have. I can pass it on when I get what I want. Because the only thing in that book I like is these 3 things. I go and I make copies of it. I take me a 3-ring notebook. I label it I make my own table of contents in the front of it. And I slide them in those page protectors so I can slide it out and read it in the future if I ever want it. And I move on. Yep.
This is another one of those books that they advertise on YouTube as well. The Lost Herbal Remedies. It's got some valuable nuggets in it. But, with all due love and respect to the authors, if I wanted to choose between this and the Peterson's Guide all day. This is a good resource. Hear me. This is a really good resource when you're starting. There's a reason why Blackie has read this Camping Wilderness book 3 times. There is such an amount, a volume of information in it. You can't take it all in. You have to read it, then you have to go back and reread it, and then you have to go back and reread it again.
For it to stick.
Yeah. It's what they call rote learning. All right, like I said, this is a good book. I have found some very useful things in it. As far as back to the marketable skills thing, woodworking is a fairly, it's not really hard to get into. You're in business. Anything that you can find by this gentleman right here, Roy Underhill. He used to have a show on PBS called The Woodwright Shop.
And they're still available if you start looking for them.
They're available on DVD, I think.
He's taking, and I think also you can get little pieces of them in places,
Yeah.
but he's taking old, classic, historic tools
Yes.
and equipment and showing you how to use them and making things out of them. This old house and stuff like that,
Yes.
those were good because they gave you ideas of how to repair your home with basic tools. It's not meant to be a truly, it turned into more of a renovation show years later.
Right.
But in the early days, they're showing you how a lot of these buildings were tongue and groove construction, they were post construction. And so what he does is he's showing you how to utilize with those type of tools.
Another thing about just the approach of the was the new Yankee Workshop?
Yep, new Yankee Workshop.
Was one of them. The difference between that or this old house and the Woodwright shop, the Woodwright shop used non-electrical tools, and if you're in a situation with your electricity out, all the power saws with all the laser guides are not going to help you.
Not going to help you if you can't generate power.
If my suggestion is start here, learn how to do it without electricity, and then go and learn how to do it with. Because you can do a lot of things with power tools, a lot of stuff, beautiful work. But we're coming from the
learn the simple, then you do the fancy later.
Learn the simple, then do the fancy later. I looked for my copy of this book, but I couldn't find it, so I borrowed my nephew's. It's called The Guide to Canning, Freezing, Curing, Smoking Meat, Fish, and Game.
Very good source.
Excellent source. They're fairly common. I think Tractor Supply sells them.
Yep.
But it tells you everything from how to get started.
And that would be get a book, and I know like Peterson's outdoor series for hunters. You will have books on how to butcher small game, how to butcher big game, how to cook, how to smoke meat, how to make jerky and supplies. Those are books you need in your library. And even if you have a good working knowledge of it, it gives you something you can help in hard times teach a friend with. Read this so you at least have working knowledge when I sit you down and we start working with it.
A lot of that is covered in this one, in this book too. Subjects like beef and veal, pork, lamb, poultry, game, fish. It's got metric conversion charts if you use the metric system. It tells you how to can, how to freeze, how to cure, how to make jerky, how to make sausage. It's right here. Now, just because I know I love you all, I had to go to Dothan a while back, and I went back by Barnes and Noble, and I got this, particularly for our viewers who live in a more urban area. This is called Grow All You Can Eat in 3 square feet.
Which is about the size of a tabletop or less.
Yeah.
And for you apartment dweller.
2 5-gallon buckets will come out to be about 3 square feet. We told you you could do it. Well, here's proof you can do it. And it goes through, it tells you about how to utilize your small space. It gives you ideas of herbs and fruit and other vegetables.
Now when we're talking about this stuff, like I talked in the last video about, I've got 2 5-gallon buckets that's making these small tomatoes, and then I've got another bucket that's growing lettuce. We're reaching the point right now in the growing phase. I just have hanging fistfuls of tomatoes right now. There's probably 70 tomatoes right now that are ready to harvest on my buckets, and another 30 that are coming up. That once I pick the ones that are ready to harvest, the plant will roll over and keep continuously making. I'm going to take those, and me and the wife are taking the lettuce, cleaning it up, shredding it up, and then we're going to have tomato sandwiches, which, like I said, a BLT without the bacon for my northern friend. That's a southern thing that we really like. But there's going to be enough tomatoes left. Some of those tomatoes are going to be frozen, put up, so that I can then turn around and use them like in stews, soups, stuff like that. So that it's not just what I'm growing in the bucket right now. I can take and create an abundance that I'm going to get what I want to eat, have stuff to put can or have stuff to freeze. In this case, I could can the tomatoes or I could freeze them. I'm not gonna worry about canning, I'm just gonna freeze some of them. And that way this winter, whenever everything's gone, I can bring out those tomatoes and use them as part of a soup, a stew, a sauce, or whatever. It's a constant thing. If I was really into it, I would right now have another set of buckets coming up that'd be something else. And so you're generating a flavor and a surplus. So I'm feeding my freezer. I could, with 4 buckets, be feeding the canning and feeding the freezer at the same time. And a book like this is going to tell you what you can grow and how long it's going to take.
This is a list of crops right here on, what page are we on? Page 32. It talks about tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, zucchini, peas, green beans, radishes, carrots, and I'm just skipping around. Potatoes, turnips, leeks, lettuce, spinach, arugula, Swiss chard, kale, chicory, broccoli, sweet corn, and I have highlighted these 2 columns in the book. One says large pots and one says raised beds. Every item on this list is under those 2 columns. Can you do it? Yes. Yes, you can do it. Question is, will you do it? That's where all this hinges. And finally, I picked up this book. It's called The Bread Bible. It's by Rose Levy Barenbaum, and she goes through, she's a professional baker, and it tells you how to bake anything you want to. Flatbreads,
Hardtack,
yeast breads, and it tells you how to start a sourdough culture. Now, sourdough is a marvelous thing. There are actually cultures of sourdough in the Northwest or on the West Coast that went out in 1849 in the back of a wagon.
And they just kept it rolling from
and they're passed down from generation to generation.
You just keep feeding it and keep using it.
You feed it, you use it, and it goes on.
There was a thing back in the early 2000s where they had found a miners' camp up in northern Canada. And this had been some miners had gone up there and had tried to tunnel into this mountain and it had not worked, and they had eventually abandoned it. Well, this place had been abandoned since 1894. And here it was over a century later. And as the guy's going through the thing, and he found some cast iron, he found this or that, he found a can that had dried up in the bottom of it what he thought was cake flour or something. The other guy realized it was a sourdough starter, and he managed to rehydrate and bring that thing back. He fed it, added fresh stuff to it, and got it to wake back up and go into making yeast again. And so he brought back this 100-year-old recipe, basically, of some miner's sourdough set that he'd left that long after it had been sitting up, and God knows how long he was able actually to resurrect it and get it going again.
There is no telling how many generations of that man's family have passed since he left that can there. One thing that I did want, let me put you on the spot.
Yeah.
If you had to pick 4 survival foods to take with you,
Right.
what would you take? And then I'll tell you mine.
If I was going to have to create 4 survival foods not knowing where I'm going, well, nothing requires refrigeration is right out because it's probably going to be a hot environment down here. Pemmican will last forever. Jerky will last forever. Hardtack will last for just about ever. Those 3, and I would then take honey. Those 4 were what I would take, because with the hardtack, I can grind that up and make soup, stews, everything. The jerky can be reboiled and rehydrated. The honey gives you sugar and can be used as a sweetener or as a fast pick-me-up.
And it will not go bad.
And it will not go bad. And then the pemmican itself will provide me most of what I need for sustenance, you know. those four I could live off of for at least 2 months or more. At least I could find something else. Would I be happy? Probably not. But could I do it? Yes.
Happiness is not an option, survival is.
Yeah, like my grandmother said, eating is required, enjoying it is not. But Granny was a good cook too, so, you know.
I'm glad you said pemmican.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I caught in this book right here, The Lost Ways. Their recipe for pemmican is powdered jerky and lard. Okay. Lard, you can make pemmican with lard. It does not last as long. It is not shelf stable. If you want shelf stable, you need to get tallow. That's the fat that comes from around the kidney. And I've actually found a source.
It's waxy.
Yeah, I've actually found a source for it locally. But tallow, and what you do, you make your jerky. Don't use store-bought jerky.
Make fresh jerky.
Make fresh jerky. Do not season it. Dry it out just as absolutely dry as you can get it. Grind it up into a powder. When you get it ground up into a powder, take an equal weight of tallow, melt the tallow, pour it in, and stir it up and put it in a form and let it harden. That's pemmican. Now, somebody out there in the comments is going to say, no, you put fruit in pemmican.
They did for taste.
Yeah, if you're going to eat it short term, yes. You can put nuts in it, you can put fruit in it. If you want it to last you more than a year, leave it out. Put your dried fruits in a package next to it, and when you get ready to eat it, eat the dry fruit along with it.
You can do that, but the reason they did it was the pemmican itself was their extreme long term, sometimes 3-5 years.
Yeah.
It was when we can't get nothing else, we can eat this. You read about the explorers and stuff eating their leather shoes. They boiled the leather because there's nothing else to eat.
Lewis and Clark did that.
Yeah, their belts, their leather belts, they boiled them until they came apart and drank the gruel. When Rogers Rangers went and was coming back, how they had, tripe, rock lizards, whatever they could find, because they were starving. They didn't have anything. The whole idea of this is to avoid getting into that situation.
Right.
Where you have to resort to such extremes. And like I said, today you've got the best option you've ever had with that device in your hand right now, the phone that you're probably watching this video on, or the computer that you're sitting at watching this video on, laptop. As long as you know what to look for, you have a greater resource than anyone in the history has right now, where you can look up hundreds of pemmican recipes, hundreds of biscuit recipes, what to do with lard, how to make lard, how to render it, how to whatever. And the whole thing about it is, once you have that knowledge, it's up here. You don't need these, but you do need these to pass it on or to teach. A big loss, you hear this often in old Southern families, is grandma passed away and I never got her lane cake recipe, or I never got her such and such recipe. Because people, when they got something they were good at, they wouldn't, I'm good at it,
My dad was basically the local historian. If you wanted to know who was related to who and how, he could tell you back 3 or 4 generations with anybody you wanted to know, anybody that had grown up here. He could tell you. He could tell you not only here in the town that I live in, but the town that Blackie lives in.
Yeah.
He just had that vast knowledge, and we got part of it, but when Daddy died, it was like the library burned down.
Now we don't know.
Now that's lost. But to kind of tie this up in a bow, neither one of us are suggesting that you go out and just buy out your local bookstore. Okay? Approach this from a different angle. How do you get started? It's really easy. Evaluate what you have. Go look in your cupboards, and just take a quick look. The three things that you absolutely cannot do without is water. You have to have an ability to collect it, to possibly purify it, and ability to store it. 3 days without water, you're dead. Food items. Okay? Evaluate your food items. What about foods that need refrigeration? There are ways that we can get into in another video of how to refrigerate without electricity.
Keep it cool, make it cooler.
You won't freeze anything. You won't make ice, but you'll keep your milk fresh. You'll keep your butter fresh. You'll
Extend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, foods that require your refrigerator, how do you stand there in a storm situation, which is where we're coming with this? We're coming from a natural disaster situation like a blizzard, a flood, a hurricane, a tornado. Foods that require refrigeration, foods that are shelf-stable. And then you have what we call indefinite foods, your honey, your hardtack, your pemmican. Okay? It's not hard. It just takes a little bit of thought.
What I recommend you do, because it can be overwhelming.
Sure.
What I recommend you do is you pick, okay? Here's a challenge for you that someone challenged me to when I was a young boy, and I'll challenge you to it. Pick a topic. I don't care what it is. Pick a topic that you're interested in. Every day, I want you to spend 30 minutes researching that topic. Just 30 minutes. I want you to say, like, how to purify water. I want you to spend 30 minutes a day for a week doing nothing but look at that. I want you on your lunch break or when you get home at night, I want you to look it up, and I want you to watch different people, look at videos if that's how you learn better, read about it, whatever. But spend 30 minutes a night for 1 week. A week from now, how much more will you know than you know right now? When you think, I've got a good working knowledge, I feel confident that I understand what I'm doing, do it. Actually, go through the process. Find the water, preserve it, try it. Prove it to yourself that you've got a good working knowledge. When that happens, pick another topic. Now, there are 52 weeks in a year. If you've picked 52 topics on whatever of these we've been talking about, and you spent 1 week at the end of a year, think about how much you'll know about 52 topics. That's in 1 year. It takes 30 minutes a day. And then you'll start seeing how my working knowledge of this transplants directly into that, whatever it is. You know, that's how we learn.
Yeah, if it's at all possible, don't bug out. Shelter in place, because you've got all of this here.
All the resources are here.
It takes about, if you're stockpiling food, it takes about 970 pounds per person per year to maintain good health.
1,000 pounds a year of food.
Yeah. Yeah, bank on 1,000 pounds of food.
50-pound backpacks, that's a lot of moving.
That's a lot of back and forth to get your food where you want it. Just, you know, make a game plan initially to stay in place. Find the gaps. Like Blackie was saying, find the gaps. Improve your water availability and storage. Improve your food availability and storage. And improve your shelter. Do that. And I want to ask one very quick question. He challenged you to learn. I want you to think about, now that you've got it, what do you intend to do to protect it? You have to ask that question. You have to ask that question. What are you going to do now that you've got it and somebody possibly wants to come and get it? What are you willing to do to protect it? But that's a subject for another video.
But I set up, because I want to do backpacking mostly, Blackie. Okay, good. I can learn how to dehydrate at home and make my own MREs, my own dehydrated meals. That teaches me how to be a cook.
Dehydrators are getting affordable.
They're getting cheap enough. So I learned to make my own jerky. It ain't got to be a big elaborate thing. You find steaks on sale that ain't too pretty, and you got a freezer full, but the price is good. Cut them up and make jerky out of it. There's your opportunity to learn.
Most grocery stores will cut them for you and get them sliced across the grain in about 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch slabs, and then make your jerky. It's not hard.
You take the oven rack in your oven, move it to the top, and what you're going to do is, like, here's the rack. You're going to hang the piece of meat and put a toothpick through it. And that's how you hang it on the rack slide, and you set it to as low as it'll go, normally about 100 and something degrees.
About 170.
Leave the door cracked just a little. I like to take a wad of aluminum foil and put it up there so it's holding the door open about 1/8 of an inch, and let it go for 8 hours.
Yeah, and be sure, from personal experience, put you a liner underneath it.
Some aluminum foil underneath.
Put you a pan with some aluminum foil or some parchment paper or something underneath it, because it's going to make a mess if you don't.
It'll drip.
Mama will not be happy with her oven.
But I'm here to tell you, when you make jerky that way, and I used to take and make, we'd get a deer, and I'd pull out the big sections that I wanted, and then the remainder part of the deer I just cut up into jerky strips, and I'd make deer jerky. And sometimes I would marinate it in teriyaki or whatever. Excuse me. And that comes by experience. You learn what you're doing and how to do it. And then I'd set it like this, and we'd go to bed. Get up in the morning, you test it. How do you know? Go online, they'll show you. But what it is, if you bend it in half and it
splinters.
It splinters, like he's talking about, like that, it's dry. If it bends but it don't break, it's not quite dry enough yet. If it snaps in half, it's too dry. Okay? Then I would put them in glass jars, seal it up, suck the air out of it. There's a simple little device you can get where you put a little bitty magnetic thing up here on the top. You poke a hole in it, put the magnetic thing on the inside. You put the thing in, you pump the air out, and you plug it, and it's basically vapor sealed, right? And that lasts 10 years. You can take that jerky and boil it, and it turns back into meat. So you can cut it up for stews. You don't have to eat it dry. But there's all kinds of things you can learn to do. Pick a topic, spend 30 minutes a day reading on it until you got a good working knowledge. If you want more, do another week of it. If you
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. This is not rocket science.
No, take it easy. It should be halfway fun. Talking about a book to get, I recommend that everybody find a book on how to make breads, because it is so integral to our lives of making rolls and etc. And Bisquick makes a great cookbook, guys, for Bisquick, because when we grow up, I mentioned in the last video, Mama or them went up and she had her big old thing of flour. Here's her baking soda, here's her salt, here's her sugar. How she combined them ingredients made pancakes, waffles, rolls, biscuits, loaf bread sliced for sandwiches, dumplings. I mean, hundreds of those same 4 ingredients, and it was knowing how to do the ratio and what you did. The Bisquick book, which is not an expensive book and often find it used for damn near nothing, is a great book because it teaches you all of it. You learn how to make hardtack. You learn how to make all of the different breads And from that, I can save money, right? Because I can buy bread, buy wheat flour or whole wheat flour or self-rising flour. I learned to make cakes. I learned to make whatever. And guys, this is a guy skill too. I make good biscuits. Now, you want to be ingratiated at the hunting camp, volunteer to be the cook. You will get in that hunting camp because they like your cooking. I've got to hunt on some really prime land. A good friend of mine, he owns a hunting club, and it's a little over $15,000 a year to join that club. They have some state record deer in there, guys. And I wanted to be part of that club. I didn't have that kind of money. So when they had their meeting, I went to it, and I offered to be the camp cook at their big hunting camp. And I got to do it. Of course, I was up before sunup. Again, barter. I was up before sunup. I made biscuits. I had their breakfast. Everybody went hunting. I set up. I did lunch. I set up and did dinner. And then dinner was put in the coolers, and I disappeared for 3 or 4 hours in the woods. And I got to hunt. And so whenever they come back out at dark, I had dinner already cooked. I'm ready to go. I pulled it out of the coolers, heated it up in 10 minutes. We're ready to eat, and everybody's happy. And I get to hunt. So that was my little barter system. So for about, I would say I probably spent $30 of my money. The rest was the group's money to cook for them. I got to hunt on a 15 grand a year hunting lease at this plantation thing where you had big money people. Everybody here was doctors, lawyers, and political movers and shakers. And
none of them who probably knew how to cook.
Knew how to cook, and a dumb little redneck got to come hunt because I knew how to cook, I knew how to bake breads, I knew how to make cookies, and I also knew how to barter. That's a skill, and we'll touch on that another day.
White Lily Flour has a website.
Yeah.
King Arthur Flour has a website. Pillsbury has a website.
Cornmeals have a website. Learn cornmeal.
The resources are out there. While you have electricity, this thing is great. Grid goes down for whatever reason. This is a glorified paperweight.
Then it's got to be up here, or it's got to be on hard copy.
That's why I love these. No electricity required, no batteries required.
Well, I think that's enough for take 2. Next time we get together, we're talking with the local, what was that office again?
We're probably going to be able, I'm supposed to get back with our local extension agent and get with him, get some ideas from him, and that will build off of what I find out when I talk to him.
In which case we'll probably be doing an interview. Next time we get together and talk, I've got a book by J. Wayne Fears I want to bring out. He's an Alabama gentleman that I've read. He's got a lot of books. I've met him. I know him not personally, but I've met him. And one of the best books is Building Your Dream Cabin. And he brings up things in that book I would have never thought of, like we're talking about the county co-op, of where to go and find out the flood plan of the land you're looking at buying. How many times has it flooded in the last 100 years? These guys keep the records. How temperature inversion. Is it going to be a place that's naturally hot during the summer or got a cool breeze during the summer? They got records to show you that of the land you're thinking about buying or building your cabin on or putting your retreat onto. And it's free. And so I'll bring out that book and we'll talk about that some. But that's enough for this time. We've been here enough. If you've got any questions or things you'd like us to go into, put them down in the comments, guys. We'd love to hear from you. Y'all did real good at responding at this, and you seem to have an interest in it, and we're more than willing to share our knowledge. So
We'll keep it going as long as you want us to.
as long as you want to ask questions, we'll be happy to keep doing these videos on it. Well, Bear, thank you very much, brother. And guys, thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button before you go. Till next time, I'm Blackie, and this is Bear. Safe journeys, guys.